I'm making this video for a very specific type of guy. He is the type of guy that will compromise his wants and his needs all the time for a girl. He values how she feels about him above how he feels about himself. And thirdly, he is always willing to go above and beyond for the girl. If this sounds like you, well, I'll let you in on the secret. It sounds like me as well. I grew up feeling like I had to be the good, perfect little boy. You go to school and you try and be the good boy, you don't break any rules, and you train yourself into this pattern of behavior where you seek validation from women, and then you take this into your dating life, and it always leads to disaster. And this is actually backed up by data. They ran experiments, Dr. John Gottman, and they got couples and they monitored their interactions. And they found, quite obviously, if for every 5 interactions, couples had more than one negative interaction, their relationships never lasted. There was just way too much conflict, way too much negative in their relationships. But what they were shocked by was the couples that had 11 or more positive interactions per negative. When they checked up on them 20 years down the line, they found they'd broken up as well. Because it turns out, if all you do is have these positive interactions where you're sacrificing to ensure everything's always perfect, that you could never disappoint her, you can't do that at all, that would be the worst thing ever. And I think nice guys feel this, and so many guys out there, it almost makes your toes curl to feel like you could ever disappoint the girl. For you to be able to sit in that pressure and feel like what you've done disappoints her. Well, fundamentally, if you can't find a way to be alright with this, it will cause the destruction of your relationship, as shown by that study. And it speaks to a level of inauthenticity, because if you're being the real you, there will be that natural conflict that starts to occur. That if you're being authentic, you're not that person. You have differences. There's going to be that kind of clash. And there needs to be. Because that's the thing. We don't make people stronger by hiding them and protecting them. We make them stronger by exposing them to challenge and conflict. So that's all you do. If you're in a relationship that has no conflict, it weakens both partners because you become unable to have those difficult conversations. And they need to be had. Peaceful times are brought on by times of real hardship. And if you don't have that in the relationship, you can't sit there and allow her to be a bit disappointed that maybe you can't go see her tonight, or you're not going to go to the place that she wants to eat. If that eats you up inside because you're thinking that, oh, I said no, and now I'm not going to get the validation, she's not going to think of me as well. And that affects my self-esteem because I've decided that how she feels about me is way more important than how I feel about myself. So to disappoint her is to destroy my own self-esteem. And this will completely destroy every relationship that you have. And it's something that I went through so many times in those early relationships I had. I thought I needed to be perfect. I thought I needed to always do everything the girl could ever want, and then she'd love me. She'd love me indefinitely. I'd never have to go through the pain, because that's what it is. It's our aversion to pain of, I don't want this relationship to ever break down. I don't want them to leave me. And if I'm perfect, they can't leave me, right? Wrong. So, learning to be comfortable disappointing a girl, it's a skill, because otherwise, what you're doing is you're keeping her a prisoner with your kindness. You're suggesting that I'm going to be so kind you can never leave, and you're just my prisoner now. It doesn't work. So let's speak to how can you go about getting over this actually really difficult thing, because I've been there. I know that discomfort you sit in when you have to disappoint someone. And I have one kind of funky and practical example. of what guys can do when you really want to get used to this and sit in that pressure and that emotion. You know those people that either go knocking door to door or are just on the streets and they're trying to get fundraising for charities. What you can do is listen to these people, hear everything they've got to say, and then just say, thank you, but I'm not interested. And just sit in that. This is like one of the most practical things you can do, where it's like, you'll sit in that pressure of, you disappointed that person, you know? They were hoping that you were going to invest and that you'd give them some money. And to a nice guy, this like is a huge obstacle to get over. So I think having that as an easy example of what you can do, there's all the other ones that get thrown out there of like send food back if you don't like it. But I think that one with the charity is the easiest one because it's in every city and happens all the time. Easy one to do. And it's not always just about allowing them to be disappointed. It's learning to ask for what you want. I remember growing up that I found a coach online that I really wanted to work with, but he was quite expensive. I think it was like $1,500 for 5 sessions or something. And I knew I couldn't afford that. So I asked him, I was like, any chance you would be able to do a discount? And he did. And I felt this like rush of emotions because I'd put my own needs above his. And finding a way to disappoint and it be okay, and to put your own needs first, will transform your ability in relationships, because without them, they will always lead to ruin. You will always be that one that is just a wet blanket, and it's not attractive for a guy. If you're always after her validation, she can tell, and she will walk away. So as much as it sucks to have to sit in that and be the guy that is disappointing someone, it's truly worth it, because that's what will give you the longevity to your relationships. And if you want to know what's driving your inability here, well, it's one particular emotion. And this emotion is the most deadly one for men that I've ever come across. And it's the one that I've helped the most people try and work with and try and get over. And I break it down in this video here. So if you want to know what's making you want to seek this validation from everyone else, well, check out this video and you will start to understand yourself on a whole new level. And it's also my favorite one on the channel.